We are going to be looking at some creepy videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. So, a couple days ago, people over in Ireland saw something pretty bizarre in the skies. They saw this light moving with what they call a halo above it, but you will not believe the official excuse that was given, or maybe you will. Witnesses also said that the light was moving at varying speed, but as always, experts had the same excuse they always give. They said the object was likely the debris of an Elon Musk space rocket, which was launched from Florida on Wednesday. Now, even though this looks different than other SpaceX debris that has been seen before, it should be pointed out that SpaceX debris has never been seen in Ireland before. These same experts say that while the debris has always been in Ireland skies, the reason why you couldn't see it before was due to clouds, and this time you can see it because there are no clouds blocking the view. Yeah, that's their excuse, and they are sticking with it. In this next creepy video, on my other channel, Minutes of Horror, I had spoken about how there was this news story coming out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where there were 3 deaths involving 3 individuals who worked for the research lab section of this very shady Air Force Base. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is engulfed with quote-unquote conspiracy theories, anywhere from UFOs to alien bodies to very strange and weird experimentations to even the paranormal. Now, news and media want us to believe that the husband involved in this story, Jacob Pritchard, ended his wife's life and the lieutenant's life, and then he ended himself. Now, while I was looking for any updates on this news story, I ran across this news story involving Wright-Patterson Air Force Base back in 2016.
And could this be a UFO?
It looks like it's moving with the clouds.
Oh, you see this?
That's crazy.
The internet is buzzing this morning over this bizarre video shot near a military base in Dayton, Ohio, that appears to show an object hovering and disappearing into the clouds. Here's another sighting of a similar object, also allegedly seen in the skies over Dayton, believed to be the same UFO. Layton, what do you think about this? And then you have an opinion.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base there, long believed to be housing all sorts of military craft. There have been a number of military members that have gone on the record about what they're housing at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio.
The truth is out there.
I'm on it. We'll find.
So make no mistake about it, there's definitely some very bizarre things that happen at this Air Force Base. It was also the very first Air Force Base to close down due to unidentified drones swarming it last year. We are also in a time where the government has been talking nonstop about UFOs and aliens. So one needs to wonder what these 3 individuals had either witnessed or were working on that cost them their lives. In this next creepy video, the ex-governor of Nuevo Leon, Mexico keeps posting this video footage of this orange orb near the ranch in Icamol. I don't know what that orange orb could be. It could even be some kind of plasmoid, but I do find it interesting that the government, especially here in the United States, are shying away from the fact that UFOs and aliens come from another planet and could possibly be spirits, angels, demons.
One last question about UFOs. So I'm a mad UFO lunatic as well. Yeah. So, and you said, I think the Ruthless podcast, that you were going to, in August, you were going to figure out what happens. So have you
that was a little tongue in cheek. I have not figured it out yet. I haven't had the time to figure it out yet.
But you've got access to all this.
I do.
Classified.
And I really want to sort of dig into it. You know, Marco's actually very interested in this too. We talked about this talked about this back in our Senate days. So yeah, there's certainly an interest there. There's certainly an intrigue, but I haven't yet had the time to really dig in. Things have been so busy, but this is the crazy person inside of me. And there's, you know, all of us put the tinfoil hat on from time to time. I was like, I can't allow myself to become so busy that I spend the next 3 years and I don't get to the bottom of this. So I will get to the bottom of this, but it's going to take me a little time.
Because Tulsi Gabbard says that she believes there are aliens. Do you believe that?
You know, I don't, it's interesting. I wouldn't say that I do or don't believe it. I mean, I'm a big believer that there are things out there that we can't explain. And so if another person sees an alien, maybe I see an angel or a demon. So I'm a big believer that there are like spiritual forces working on the physical world that a lot of us don't see and a lot of us don't understand and a lot of us don't appreciate. But, you know, is it aliens or is it our guardian angel, or is it aliens, or is it a not so guardian force that doesn't care about us or in fact actively wishes us harm? I don't know the answer to that question. What I try to do is I try to say my prayers. I try to be as good of a person as I can be, and I try to do a good job. And hopefully,
what if these are entities that are here on this earth, that have been on this earth, that who knows how long, and that we, you know, we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did.
When we were talking to some of the witnesses, they don't call them extraterrestrial. They call them interdimensional. There's also this aspect of these things defying physics as we know it. And then you look into texts that were removed from the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, that actually specifically address speculating based on the evidence that I've seen. There's something out there.
It has been my longest suspicion too, and I have said this for quite some time on my other channel, that UFOs, aliens, are not coming from outer space, but they're coming from other dimensions, other realms. These are spirits, entities. And I have spoken about how 3 very occultic individuals, Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, and Walt Disney, they go to a desert in New Mexico and they practice Aleister Crowley's dark ritualistic sex magic, Babylon workings. And then 1 year later, in 1947, there is an explosion of UFO sightings to the point that the government, they had to create Project Blue Book. So who knows what these things are, and the technologies that we see from DARPA and so forth may be inspired by these things. And let's also not forget too that Aleister Crowley's lamb does resemble that of a gray alien before the concept of a gray alien was even known to the public. So then the question happens to be, why does the government, which I do not trust one bit, want to slowly get us on board to the fact that these are entities and spirits as opposed to something from outer space? It could just be the simple fact they don't care anymore what they tell us, kind of like what we're seeing now with these chemicals they're spraying in the skies. Before, it was just a quote-unquote conspiracy theory. But now, for whatever reason, they're telling us, yeah, we're spraying chemicals in the skies, we're spraying Satan, we're spraying Baal, we're going to go ahead and dim the sun, block out the sun, and what are you going to do about it? This could also be a psyop, something used in their agenda for the future, or these things could be working with the government and they now want to make themselves known. Something like we saw with They Live. In multiple interviews talking about these entities, Anna Paulina Luna always references the Book of Enoch, which tells about these fallen ones, these fallen angels mating with human women to create Nephilim. And I actually made a video on this, which I will go ahead and play in this video, that it's highly suggested that Hillary Clinton herself made an FOIA request for information on the Nephilim and their whereabouts. But talking about the whereabouts of the Nephilim, I found this next video to be very interesting, an interview with this woman who had spoken to a Japanese man about the Grand Canyon and what may be inside.
And I was walking the coastline, and this Japanese man walks up to me, very elderly, walking the coastline. He says, "You from America?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I've been to America." I said, "You have? When did you go to America?" He says, 1944. I said, "Oh, that's a long time ago." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I went Grand Canyon." I said, "What were you doing at Grand Canyon?" He says, "During war." He says, 600 Japanese brought to America to tunnel through Grand Canyon. Dynamite. He says, we were blowing up Grand Canyon. I said, well, what was the purpose? What were you mining for? He says, not mining. He says, looking. I said, well, the interpreter said, explain. And he says, looking for big giants. Looking for giants. And he got really quiet, and he got really quiet. And he said, I not tell all these years, not tell. He says, family, I tell, promise not tell. And I told the interpreter, I says, tell him he's safe, that he does need to tell. He says, you know about giants? I said, yes, I know about Nephilim, yes. He says, you do? And I said, yes. He says, And he got really quiet. And he talked to my interpreter, and then he said, tell American, I go Grand Canyon. He says, enter into big mine, big doors, 20 feet high, big solid doors. He says, we blew the doors open. This is coming from the interpreter now. Blew the doors open, and out come big giants. We flee for our life. He says, some not get away, and some not get away. Some. I asked my interpreter, what did they do at that point? He says, brought in big helicopters, take us out, but put us in confinement for days and days and days and days. And they weren't going to let us out because we might tell. But finally, the interpreters told me that they finally, after days and days and days of them being in confinement, they finally let the few that were left go back to Japan. And he not tell all those years. And that was in 2012. He had not told anybody about the giants that they found. And they were alive, and they were...
And it's just so interesting to me that the Grand Canyon is one of those locations where a lot of it is just held in secrecy. A lot of it is blocked off that you cannot venture to. And it reminds me of Antarctica in a way where if you are to go there, you have to go there with a group and follow a specific path. What I'm going to go ahead and do next is play a video that I made talking about how Hillary Clinton was possibly searching for the Nephilim, creating an FOIA request. Now, do keep in mind the video is over a year old. The audio is not that great. It's not bad, but it's not that great. I'm going to go ahead and play the video now. It's about 11 minutes. Now, I absolutely love this story here. This story has always puzzled me. But I do want to say that the video that I am about to show you, the authenticity has never been confirmed. But what actually is confirmed to be true, in 2003, a German-led expedition of archaeologists believed they found Gilgamesh's tomb. The Epic of Gilgamesh, written by a Middle Eastern scholar 2,500 years before the birth of Christ, commemorated the life of the ruler of the city of Uruk, from which Iraq gets its name. Now, like I said, in 2003, a German-led expedition believed they discovered what is thought to be the entire city of Uruk, including where the Euphrates once flowed, the last resting place of its famous king. Now, there is a conspiracy theory to be had here because people do believe the war in Iraq centered around Gilgamesh's tomb. Intelligence was given to the United States that Gilgamesh's tomb had been discovered, and thus we invaded Iraq. Now, what also is true is that the United States did loot over 5,000 antiques from Iraq, and one of these antiques were the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet. Now, many people do question how did the United States get a hold of these antiques, including the Dream Tablet, so that does put more weight that they went there to Iraq to loot the Gilgamesh tomb. So then, if the United States denies the reason they were in Iraq to loot the tomb of Gilgamesh, then how did they come a hold of the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet? Well, as alleged in the government's amended complaint, in 2003, a United States antiquities dealer purchased the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet, encrusted with dirt and illegible, from a family member of a coin dealer in London. The antiquities dealer and a United States cuneiform expert shipped the tablet to the United States by international post without declaring formal entry. So they were pretty much sneaking this into the United States. Now, after the tablet was imported and cleaned, experts in the cuneiform recognized it as bearing a portion of the Gilgamesh epic, in which the protagonist describes his dreams to his mother. The protagonist's mother interprets the dreams as a foretelling of the arrival of a new friend. She tells her son, "You will see him again and your heart will laugh." the names of the hero Gilgamesh and the character who becomes his friend, Enkidu, are replaced in his tablets with the names of the deities Sin and E. The tablet measures approximately 6 inches by 5 inches and is written in the Akkadian language, which is spoken in ancient Mesopotamia. Now, going back to the German archaeologists, they state they do not definitely want to say it's the grave of King Gilgamesh, but it looks very similar to that described in the epic. Now, they state in the book, actually a set of inscribed clay tablets, Gilgamesh was described as having been buried under the Euphrates, in a tomb apparently constructed when the waters of the ancient river parted after his death. The archaeologists continue to state, we found just outside the city an area in the middle of the former Euphrates River, the remains of such a building, which could be interpreted as a burial. The archaeologists stated the amazing discovery of the ancient city under the Iraqi desert had been made possible by modern technology. By differences in magnetization in the soil, you can look into the ground. The difference between the mud bricks and the sediments in the Euphrates River gives a very detailed structure. Now, this creates what is known as a magnetogram, which is then digitally mapped, effectively giving a town plan of Iraq. Now, what is surprising by this technology is that the archaeologists found structures that were already described by Gilgamesh. Now, the archaeologists covered more than 100 hectares. Now, 1 hectare equals to 100 acres. What they found were garden structures and field structures as described in the epic, and they have found Babylonian houses. But the archaeologist states the most astonishing find was an incredibly sophisticated system of canals, stating very clearly we can see in the canals some structures showing that flooding destroyed some houses, which means it was a highly developed system, saying it's like Venice in the desert. Now, if the archaeologists found exactly what Gilgamesh stated in the epic, it's not outside the realm of possibility that they would find his tomb as well, exactly as it's stated in the epic. Well, did they find Gilgamesh's tomb? Well, we don't know. There have been 0 updates to this article, 0 updates to the story. No archaeologist has come out further to what they have found, because during that time, what was taking place in the news was Iraq, but it was the invasion of Iraq by the United States. Now, archaeologists stated they found this legendary city of Gilgamesh in April of 2003. The invasion of Iraq by the United States forces occurred only 1 month. It went from March 20th of 2003 to May 1st of 2003. So the timing of the United States forces really aligns with the German archaeologist. So did they recover everything they needed from the tomb of Gilgamesh and Gilgamesh himself? Now, we don't know exactly what the government or archaeologists recovered in this location in Iraq, but on December 13th, 2018, there was a Freedom of Information Act requested by one Denitra D. Senegar, requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body, and the location of the buried Nephilim. Now, I do want to make it clear that anybody can make a FOIA request, but the theory is that this Denitra D. Senegar happens to be Hillary Clinton. Well, then how would theorists make that connection when just anybody can make a Freedom of Information request? Now, here's the thing. Searching the name Denitra D. Senegar, it brings up nothing of significance, and it's possibly an alias. Going to the virtual reading room of Clinton emails and search for Nephilim, it returns 0 results. However, if you search the name Denitra D. Senegar, 12,726 results return. Now, more than likely, this is a code name for Hillary Clinton, because I highly doubt Hillary Clinton would use her own name to search for Gilgamesh, his resurrection chamber, and fallen Nephilim. The file would not show up under Clinton's secret emails because the request was not sent from this account. The request was to the State Department from Clinton's code name. It should also be noted that December 13, 2018 was the date that the file was actually received and not the actual send date. Now, just like the archaeologists, this Freedom of Information Act request was closed and nothing more has come out of it. There have been no updates or why this person was even researching this information. Now, Gilgamesh is known as the king of the Nephilim, and also the Nephilim are known as giants. They are known as either the offspring of fallen angels, or they are known as fallen angels themselves. But it is more theorized that the Nephilim are the children of the fallen angels. They are the giants. Now, I do find this very fascinating because we are in a time where people, whether it's the Miami Mall in Brazil, the Las Vegas family, and so forth, are reporting seeing 10-foot beings. So there are a lot of people that do believe what people are seeing, these 10-foot beings, are the actual Nephilim. In 2018, a request was received for the location of King Gilgamesh, his resurrection chamber, and the Nephilim, the buried Nephilim. And now, 5 to 6 years later, people are reporting seeing 10-foot tall beings. Now, the video footage I am showing you is purported to be the tomb of King Gilgamesh taken by the archaeologists, but fact checkers have come along and saying that this is a hoax. This is a hoax video. It's been debunked. Now, like I said, after archaeologists stated they believe they found the city that was ruled by King Gilgamesh, there have been absolutely no updates from these archaeologists, save for this video that was released 20 years later. Now, it is believed that the actual archaeologists that were discovering this city and found this tomb took this video. But this video does originate from TikTok, or so the fact checker states. Now, if this video does indeed originate from TikTok, then that does raise some alarms. It does raise some questions about the authenticity of this video. But then again, we can't really trust fact checkers either, as I've proven in my previous community post. Now, this person who posted the video at JessicaLove9578 on TikTok, now like I said, she posted this video. We don't know if she was the first one to post this video or this was her re-uploading this video, but she stated that she found footage of the Gilgamesh tomb, far exceeding her expectations. It's beautiful. You can pull this off the Freedom of Information Act. This is legit. It's Hillary Clinton requesting the information. Originally, it was hacked. Anybody who doesn't know the Tomb of Gilgamesh situation, they found the Tomb of Gilgamesh in Iraq. And as soon as they did, before the story broke out, the American government set up camp on their territory, kicked out all the media, went down into the tomb, removed a bunch of stuff, and the story disappeared. Now, even though she is a TikToker, a broken clock is right twice a day, and she is correct here. This story did disappear after the archaeologists found this city. Now, there is another thing that might make this a hoax as well. In the video, there is a front page of a newspaper with the date of 2008, Saturday, May 5th, 2008. So if this newspaper was not digitally enhanced into the video, if this was not put into the video to discredit the video, then there is no way this could have been taken in 2003. Now, even if this video is a hoax, it does sound like the United States government did find something in this location in Iraq, and since then, it's been hushed up. Is it possible what they found in Iraq, this resurrection chamber and this Nephilim, is connected to all this UFO and alien talk today? Now, we do know that Congress is shying away from the fact that these entities, these aliens, these fallen angels, these demons, whatever you want to call them, come from another planet. And they are now saying that they are interdimensional. Maybe they did resurrect Nephilim or fallen angels, and they can no longer be contained. And on top of this, who really knows what's truly lurking in the waters as well? What type of entities lurk below, and they are now coming back up? This next video comes from the Interstellar Discussion.
New York Post just reported that there's thousands of USO sightings happening off coastlines, right? Thousands of unidentified submerged objects, USOs, are lurking off American coastlines and beyond, right? So on the Enigma app, there are thousands upon thousands, like 30,000 in total so far sightings that people have logged on the app. And it's about a 50-50 split of things being seen over land and then things coming out of the ocean, and more often than not, people see strange things coming in and out of the ocean. Now, a major thing we are experiencing right now is unexplainable lights underwaters, right? And this isn't just from civilian, this is from military to navy to civilian as well. Seeing green lights either appearing, descending in and out of the water, or basically staying under the water, moving around unexplainably, and then darting off at ridiculous speeds. And this has been reported for the longest time. And also, none of this stuff picks up on any radar, right? Fishermen as well, and there's so many pieces of footage of this sort of strange phenomena happening, and it usually coincides around earthquakes, hurricanes, and sort of like major disaster events, or even solar activity. If we've had a major geomagnetic storm, again, we get an influx of plasmoids or things in the ocean. So, yes, very strange to say the least, and the amount of stuff that he's picking up at the minute is very significant.
This video by Jaguar Rai, he has some very interesting opinions about the Nephilim and what they are and where they are today.
Hi, I want to address a comment someone left on one of my recent videos where I talked about how aliens are demonic entities. This is what she says. Demons were not granted bodies. They are the 1/3 that followed Satan. Now, when I speak about demons, I'm referring to the disembodied spirits of the giants, or the Nephilim, who were largely destroyed thousands of years ago. And I believe these spirits have possessed bioengineered bodies, which we would refer to as the Greys. Now, these bodies enable the demonic spirits to more efficiently interact with human beings and the rest of the physical realm. Now, the book of Enoch elaborates on the origin of these evil spirits in regard to how they came from the giants. And if you're not aware, the book of Enoch was a book greatly treasured by the early church, and there are many allusions to passages in Enoch in the New Testament. Now, Enoch chapter 5, we read of the spirits that came from the bodies of the giants after they were killed. Beginning in verse 29, we read, "Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, because they are born from men and from the watchers is their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called." Now, God speaks of these evil spirits having proceeded from the bodies of the giants. And God reiterates the fact that they were born from mankind and from the angelic beings known as the Watchers. That is their beginning and primal origin. This explains why they would be called evil. It's because they originate from an abominable, corrupt union of evil angelic beings and from human women. And God then goes on to elaborate on what these evil spirits or demons would do on the earth. As he says in verse 30, "And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses." So we see that the spirits of the giants have the ability and the freedom to wreak all kinds of havoc on the earth. And one of the things that they will do is torment mankind, as God goes on to say in verse 31. "And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them." You see examples of this in the Bible, as they were able to possess people, possess children, adults, torment them, driving them mad, and to engage in all kinds of destructive behavior. The reason these evil spirits or demons will have the right to afflict people is because of their intimate connection with mankind. For while they are not wholly human, they're not entirely human spirits. They were still the offspring of angels and human women. And again, it's because of this intimate connection with mankind regarding their origin that gives them access to human beings. Finally, in verse 32, Enoch, or God, emphasizes how these spirits came from the giants, and they will engage in all kinds of destruction without incurring punishment until the great day of judgment. We read, "From the days of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, from the souls of whose flesh the spirits, having gone forth, shall destroy without incurring judgment. Thus shall they destroy until the day of the consummation, the great judgment in which the age shall be consummated," and so forth. So we see that they shall, that is the demons, shall destroy without incurring punishment until the great judgment. And it appears that these demons know this, which is alluded to in such texts as Matthew 8, verse 29. This passage mentions something that demons say to Jesus while they had been possessing a certain man. We read, "And behold, they cried out, 'What have you to do with us, O Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the time?'" So they're aware that there's a future time when they will be punished. And so they are wondering, maybe they're confused about why Christ is there. Did Christ come to punish them, prematurely? And I believe it's these same demons that are on the earth today, and one of the ways in which they are tormenting and harassing mankind is by means of the alien phenomena, whereby they are possessing bioengineered bodies, which I understand are part flesh, or they're some kind of flesh suit, and some believe they're even part mechanical. And I'll get into this more in a future video. Thank you for watching.
Things have been here for a very long time, entities and so forth, and again, what we think might be some kind of technology at the end of the day might very well be spirits or entities themselves. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.